I'm Davy, and I'm awesome. And welcome to Davy's Awesome Movies, where I review the styles of movies I love, the alternative, B-rated, cold-style flicks. And this is a movie that became mainstream, but has still got a huge cult following. This movie was made in 1984, and it was written and directed by Wes Craven, and produced by Robert Shane. Made by New Line Cinema, Media Home Entertainment, and Smart Egg Productions, and distributed by New Line Cinema. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the biggest horror movies ever in existence. A Nightmare on Elm Street. The movie opens with a girl named Tina being chased. Oh, apparently it was just a dream.
Some dream, judging from that.
Yeah, it was the 80s. Kids just ripped their clothes back then because they thought it looked cool. Wait, they still do that. At school the next morning, Tina is telling her friend Nancy, played by Heather Langenkamp, and Nancy's boyfriend Glenn all about her bad dream.
Yeah, next time you have one, just tell yourself that's all it is, right where you're having it, you know?
Glenn is played by Johnny Depp. This was his very first movie. And apparently one of the reasons Wes Craven cast Depp in this role is because his daughter thought he was just so dreamy. Then again, who doesn't? Nancy and Glenn stay at Tina's that night because she's afraid from her bad dream and her mother's going to be out of town. And while talking, it turns out that Nancy also had a bad dream about a guy in a red and green sweater with knives as fingers.
Nancy, you dreamed about the same creep I did.
Before they get more into it, though, they hear a noise outside, and Glenn goes to check it out.
It's Riley and bring your lance down just 3 yards.
It was just Rod. He's obnoxious. Kind of like some people I know. Tina and Rod go up to her mother's room, but Tina still asks Nancy and Glenn to stay the night.
Why is she so bothered by a stupid nightmare anyway?
At the moment, I would be bothered by the fact that somebody else had the exact same dream I had about the exact same guy doing the exact same thing on the exact same night. The odds of that are one in those ridiculous numbers that you hear about. But hey, this is a horror movie, so, upstairs.
I knew there was something about you I liked.
Yeah, his rod.
No more nightmares for either one of us then.
He had a dream like that too. How are none of you ridiculously spooked right now? Everyone goes to sleep, but Tina hears something outside. So she goes outside to check it out, and then she sees the man with the knives on his fingers. Freddy Krueger, played by Robert Englund. Eventually, Rod wakes up. Oh, she's just having a nightmare. Okay, maybe not. Okay, I do gotta say though, if I was your mother, I'd be pissed about the mess you're making all over her bed. Nancy and Glenn burst in from the screaming and see the bloody mess all over the room. Rod isn't there though, he ran out the window. So now we go to a Lieutenant Johnson, played by John Saxon. That's right, the guy from Enter the Dragon.
What was she doing there?
Hello to you too, Donald.
Lieutenant Johnson is also Nancy's father.
But she just didn't want to sleep alone.
She didn't sleep alone, and still died. The next morning...
I've got to go to school, Mother, otherwise I'll sit up there and go crazy.
Really? I hated school. I was always looking for an excuse not to go. I think witnessing a murder the night before would be like me getting out for at least a week. While walking to school, though...
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm not gonna hurt you.
While Rod is swearing he didn't do it...
Just move away from us, son. Real easy, like your ass depended on it.
I gotta say, this is kind of Rob's fault. You really didn't think that the police lieutenant was gonna have his daughter watched after this?
Daddy? You used me.
Duh.
While in class, Nancy falls asleep. Rude.
Hey, Nancy! No running in the hallway.
Falling asleep in class, running in the hall? You just have no manners, do you?
Who are you?
Oh, that looks infected. Should put some Neosporin on that. Okay. People are trying to learn here.
Everything's all right now.
The teacher is played by Lynn Shane, the sister of the producer, and an actress who's that woman that was in that one film that everybody always recognizes. Meaning she's been in a lot of stuff. In fact, this was her first of 3 movies that she's been in with Robert Englund. Last one so far being 2001 Maniacs. We'll get there. When Nancy goes outside, though, she notices something. Neosporin. Nancy goes to the jail to see Rod, and he starts telling her all about the nightmare he'd had, the same night that the other two had had a nightmare, about a guy in a red and green sweater with knives on his fingers.
Hey, you think I did it?
No.
That's all it takes. Just telling her that and she believes you. Told my wife about a nightmare where some guy was farting out of my butt in my sleep, and she still isn't buying it. Granted, it's a recurring nightmare. Nancy goes home to take a bath, which is a great thing to do when you're sleep deprived. Her mom hears her struggling and bursts in, but by the time she gets in there...
Are you okay? I'm okay.
To help her stay awake, Nancy goes to watch a movie. Ah, Evil Dead, a great choice. You could never sleep through a Bruce Campbell movie. He was hardly in that one. Nancy goes to her window.
Oh, God!
I'm sorry.
Oh my. Of course, though, she invites him in. I mean, who wouldn't?
God, I look 20 years old.
That's because you are. Nancy has Glenn guard her while she goes into her dream to look for Freddy.
I'm here.
So she runs. Into some marshmallow fluff. She makes it to her room. Man, she just can't catch a break. Well, Glenn, good job. I can't stay mad at you.
Glenn, you bastard.
She can, though. Nancy and Glenn go to the jail to see Rod, but they're not letting them back there because Rod's asleep.
Help! Help! Help!
By the time they get there, they find out he's really hung. Gotta say though, why is Freddy covering his tracks though? Like making it look like Rod murdered Tina and then making it look like Rod committed suicide? Like what? You worried you're gonna get arrested? Nancy tries to tell her parents about the man in her sleep. So in response to this, her mother takes her to a sleep study. It doesn't go well.
Oh my God, Earl! Get something!
But hey, she's got a souvenir.
I grabbed it off his head.
And again, even though anybody else in their right mind would be extremely alarmed by the fact that she got a random cut while sleeping and a hat, this is an 80s horror movie, so you just need some sleep. Later though, Nancy can tell that her mother knows something and is not telling her, so she is trying to get some answers.
You'll feel better when you get some sleep.
Seriously, were you not at that study? Nancy realizes that inside the hat it says the name Fred Krueger.
Fred Krueger can't come after you, Nancy. He's dead.
She knows. Nancy storms off, but when she finally does come home, her mother is finally ready to tell her about Fred Krueger.
He was a filthy child murderer who killed at least 20 kids in the neighborhood.
In the original script, he was actually supposed to be a child molester. But then about the time this movie was about to come out, there was a big, huge news story about a child molester in California. It was getting all over the place, and Wes Craven really didn't want it to come off that he was trying to bank off of this real-life tragedy, so he changed it to murder. They later changed it back when they did the remake. She tells Nancy all about how he did get arrested, was being tried, but got off on a technicality. So her and a bunch of other parents decided that they were going to take it upon themselves to go find him, trap him in his boiler room, and burn him to death.
But he can't get you now. He's dead, honey, because Mommy killed him.
Look what you did. After this, Nancy calls Glenn.
Hi, how you doing?
I hope you don't mind, but I'm wearing your shirt. Nancy tells Glenn about Fred Krueger and tells him not to go to sleep because he's coming after him next.
Why would anybody want to kill me?
Because he's crazy, Captain Jack. Just listen to her. She tells him her plan to get Freddy out of the dream world and into the real world, and that she needs his help. She wants to meet at midnight, and she tells him that no matter what.
Don't fall asleep.
So what does he do? So because he's a typical guy who doesn't listen. No! What happened to Glenn, you asked? Yeah! Sorry, Johnny. But that was really cool. Although I gotta say, that's a lot of blood! Okay, I know. But on the bright side, Mattress King owes you a refund. In the original cut, they actually did have a part where Glenn's body came out of the mattress, but Wes Craven cut that. He had to cut a few things, just so it would get an R rating. Which makes me wonder, how bad was it that they were like, this is too bad for an R rating? They called Lieutenant Thompson.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, haven't these poor people suffered enough? First their son is dead, and now their roof is leaking. Nancy calls her father over at Glenn's.
Just come here and break the door down in exactly 20 minutes.
Since Glenn's out of the picture, she's gonna use her father, who doesn't believe any of this. Then again, neither did Glenn. Then again, he does now. Nancy starts preparing. You know, your mom's in the house. I'm just saying, what if she wakes up and triggers one of these? So now Nancy goes to sleep.
I'm here!
I'm Nancy. Nancy finds him. Her alarms go off, but Freddy's nowhere. Oh, there he is. While she's trying to get her dad to come over, he chases her some more. She's still trying to get her father's attention.
Daddy, help me! Please!
Maybe I better go tell the lieutenant.
Duh! It's still on her. Yes, light a guy on fire in your home that you're trapped in. Good idea. Her father finally breaks in. But where's Freddy? That was hot. And now probably the most low-budget, cheesy effect in the movie. Nancy realizes, though, this must have all been just a dream. And she can take the power back from Freddy. So now Nancy wakes up. Everything's fine. It was all just a bad dream. She gets ready for school. Glenn picks her up in his car, with Rod and Tina inside already.
Hey, I'm not doing this! I'm not doing this!
What's going on with the window?
Maybe not. Was it a dream, Nancy? Was it? So there you have it. That's A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original one. That spawned 6.5 sequels. Last one was a Freddy and Jason movie. And then even got a remake. That I wish it didn't. As iconic as this movie is, it almost didn't get made. It was incredibly low budget with about a $1.1 million budget, even though it did end up with a $57 million box office. And that's just the movie theaters. That's not counting all the years of merchandise, video sales, DVD sales, now Blu-ray sales. This movie has made a lot of money. Honestly, if Wes Craven never wanted to work again, he wouldn't have to, just based on the residuals he would get from this film, not including any of its sequels. But originally, Smart Egg Productions was supposed to put up $1 million for this movie, but a couple weeks before production started, they backed out. So producer Robert Shane had to find the money elsewhere. 2 weeks into production, they actually ran out of money, so they couldn't pay the crew, so the line producer, John H. Burroughs, actually paid them using his own credit card. That's how low budget this was. Shane eventually made a deal with Media Home Entertainment to get some money, and eventually Smart Egg Productions came back and put up $200,000 to help finish the movie. Smart Egg would have been smarter to give the entire $1 million, because I'm sure they very quickly made that $200,000 back. And then oddly enough, this was the movie that made Robert Englund the legend he is today. And he almost didn't get the part. Originally, Wes Craven didn't even want an actor to be Freddy. He wanted a stuntman to play Freddy. The original concept of Freddy Krueger was supposed to be more along the lines of like Jason or Michael Myers, where he had little to no dialogue. Which I'm glad that didn't happen, because as much as I am a Jason fan, it's what set Freddy Krueger apart from Jason. Was not only the sarcastic dialogue that would come out in later films, but he was really more mental than physical. Yes, he was killing people and brutally killing people, but he liked to play with them a little bit first. Speaking of Jason, though, oddly enough, one of the people that was up for playing Freddy was in fact Kane Hodder, who would later go on to be the most memorable Jason ever. But after Wes Craven decided to do a few test runs with some stunt people and decided this wasn't going to work, he needed an actor, that's when Robert Englund came in. Robert Englund has done some good movies out there, but he's never done anything on the level of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Some other interesting casting choices in this movie. Originally up to play Rod was Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid. Some of the women that were up to play Nancy were interesting as well. Jennifer Grey, Demi Moore, Courtney Cox, Tracy Gold, yes, the daughter from Growing Pains, and Claudia Wells, the original girlfriend of Marty McFly. And even Glenn, before landing on Johnny Depp, Charlie Sheen was up for that role, as well as John Cusack, Brad Pitt, Kiefer Sutherland, Nick Cage, and even C. Thomas Howell. But he landed on Johnny Depp, and this started Johnny Depp's career. Now, granted, he wasn't an accomplished actor yet. He honestly wasn't that good in this movie, but it was a start. Another thing I loved about this is back in the day of practical effects. There was no CGI at the time, so everything they did, they had to do with practical effects. Like Freddy sticking his head out the wall. They had to build a wall and put a spandex covering over it to do that effect. In the beginning, when Tina sees Freddy, right before she's killed, he's got these big long arms. They literally had to have puppeteers holding them with fishing line stretched out. And it all looked great. Even Robert Englund's makeup looked great, although it took 3 hours to put on every day. Not including touch-ups they would have to do throughout the day. This movie was a gamble and a huge success. Because truth be told, New Line Cinema was actually on the brink of bankruptcy before this movie came out. This movie saved New Line Cinema, which is why, jokingly, it's been given the name The House That Freddy Built. I've gone on record several times to say that I'm more of a Jason fan than a Freddy fan. You can't take away from what Nightmare on Elm Street has done for these kinds of movies, these genres, and what they've built today. A lot of the big time horror movies that are out today that people really enjoy probably never would have come about if it wasn't from films like Nightmare on Elm Street. So you gotta respect it for that and that alone. So if you haven't seen A Nightmare on Elm Street, which is very doubtful, maybe it's time to get on it. So there you have it. That's my movie review this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notifications for when I post new videos, and leave a comment. Tell me what you like about Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm sure somebody will. Love you guys.